Hello and welcome. The first of the new try and flies, as promised, with the Pmdg 747 Queen of the Skies. In this case, it's the Polar Air Cargo Freighter variant, and I've just set up the airplane here in Munich, taxi to gate Munich scenery this is, and I have still running engines because this is the default kind of startup mode. I was too lazy to change it. You can change this actually, but what I can show you is then how I set this thing up so that we are ready to go. Also with another tool that comes with this. I bought FS2CREW. It's also a long time ago that I have it acquired here for the 747, and I think the combination of a Pmdg, especially of the 747 together with FS2CREW, is fantastic, at least for me. Doing everything yourself, this is a big help, especially on flights with VATSIM and so on, because I do not have to worry about setting up the airplane, and also during takeoff and approach it will assist you with various steps. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my little top screen. So what you see here is a browser. I have aviaserver to get the FMC here, the CDU, or whatever it's called. What's it called in? I think it's called CDU. Yep, with Boeings, I always get mixed up. You see also a little nav map here on the side. What you can see here is that we are at position 185. That's my usual starting point on the old apron, on apron 1. And yeah, since we still have the engines running, what I'm going to do first is I go to Pmdg setup. There's a state load here, and I use the 747 short, and I have to execute it. And what will happen now is the engines will be turned off and everything will be put into a specific mode, so that yeah, okay. Now what we also have here is this FS2CREW main panel. FS2CREW, as I told you, is the tool I'm using. It's a bit yeah, in the way here, so I'm moving it over to the other screen so that it's out of my view. But yeah, this is how you control the virtual co-pilot basically that you have with FS2CREW, and you will see how that works while we are doing the flight. So things have become quiet. You can see here it's a Polar Air Cargo, it's all doors closed in that case, because short means we are more or less ready. Everything is there. And what I do then is quickly go into the cockpit. So let's jump into the cockpit. This is the 747 cockpit. The fact that you see some of those screens black is not because there's something missing or defect or whatever. No, it's actually working. The thing is, I have externalized those windows, and the Pmdg turns the original then dark. There are other aircraft, and also in other simulators, where you can see them both, the external and the internal. You will see the external ones when I switch the view to this here. There you can see the 3 of them. They are on my other screen, and they're quite big, so that I use them for flying, because I can read those, whereas I can't read what you see here. Yeah, so even if I go a bit closer, it's still hard to read. So having these as big displays is actually quite helpful. Yeah, and I have a browser window. In this browser window, I do have the aviaserver, the CDU here, and it's this one here, the captain side. And I also have Navigraph charts as another browser tab. And what you can see here already is the new route. I have set it up, and It's saved here, so you can see we are flying from Munich via the radar 7 Quebec departure, then we climb to flight level 200, and then we go via the NOSBU 1 Echo arrival, and then the RNAV or the RNP. Actually, the RNP doesn't seem to be in here yet, so let's add edit procedure. So I take the approach and I use the RNP or the RNAV runway 07 from the NOSBU 1 Echo. So we use this here, and now it has added actually the last bit. And what I should probably do is that I export this one. So I can export this to some of those usual things. Do we need it? No, because I'm going to do it manually. Yeah. Good thing is that I can call up also my charts here. There we go. Here's Munich. And I can also go and locate my aircraft. We are here. Yeah, and I have also the departure and everything available. Right. So let's go back to the small screen very quickly. So here's the route, the radar 7 Quebec departure, radar the Lima 173. It's a lower space aircraft, and then to Gupin, and then the NOSBU 1 Echo arrival into Stuttgart EDDS. That's the route that we're going to fly. And so the first thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to program that into the FMC, and I do this basically here. So I press FMC. We have, yeah, it's still a current ARAC because it's valid to August 12th. Yep, that's fine. Then we go to the position in it. Because we are in this short flight state or aircraft state, the whole thing has already happened, the alignment. Now I can put in the EDDM, and I could actually put in the gate 185, and we can see that our position matches gate 185. That's fine. So we are flying from EDDM. I'm going to manually enter the route. That's one of the tests. EDDS. Okay. Runway. We're going to take off from runway 08 left. Oh. Runway 08 left. Flight number is test 1. And I'm going to continue with the departure. So it's 08 left, and we are flying out on the radar 7 Quebec. Right. Then we go back to route, and we should now see radar here. Yep. Now Lima 173. Have I mistyped? Oh, yeah. Did I not click 7? I have a feeling that aviaserver is doing strange things. I usually don't mistype that often. Lima 173, and it's Gupin. That's where we exit. Lima 173 again, and then we're doing the arrival in Stuttgart. We set it. It's going to be the RNP or RNAV 07. Okay, I'm coming in via the NOSBU 1 Echo arrival. And the transition... What? Hang on. I think aviaserver is doing strange things. That shouldn't have happened. Okay. So NOSBU 1 Echo. And RNAV 07, And now I need to find the correct transition. Here we go. We are going in via the NOSBU transition 07. Okay. Go to the root. We activate it, execute, and now we go into the legs. And we change the display to... Okay, so for that I'm going to switch here. Now you can see we have the display. I think I have to so do this a little bit. Okay, so we are going to take off from Munich. Yeah, DM073. Then comes Mike NDB. Then comes Valda. It's a VOR. Then comes the reader waypoint, Redvo, Dodil, Rikset, Abtal, Gupin. And obviously we now have a discontinuity because we need to fly to NOSBU. So I'm going to close this discontinuity. Yep. And then we continue via NOSBU. And then this is actually what is going on here. So this is very strange. Okay, something is wrong with aviaserver because it's just messing things up left, right, and center. What the heck? Why does that happen today? This was really... I've done several flights now and I never had issues like that. I don't know what's going on today. That's really strange. So let's see, because this is completely... So from NOSBU, okay, that's up here, so that's correct. Now we're going step to DS440, then to DS421, then DS411, then FATA. Okay, and we do have another approach route here, which is actually different, and I'm not sure where that comes from, because I think it has messed up. Yeah, it has messed up things. Maybe I did it wrong. So let's do this again. I mean, it's try and fly. Let's do that again. I'm using the... okay. 08 left. Yeah, that's correct. Now, but I didn't want that. I wanted to do the arrival again. So we're doing the RNAV 07. And we're doing NOSBU 1 echo. I wonder if I should not put in a transition now. And now we have another look. What? I don't know. This is not very good today. Okay, let's do that again. So we have a discontinuity. I'm going to close this discontinuity, execute. Now that looks much better. This actually looks correct now. Probably by giving another transition. I think that made, yeah, that was wrong probably. So let's see. DS440, DS421, DS411, FATA, and then we go on the approach. Now that's correct. That's what it should be. Pooh, yeah. It's already up to a rocky start here, this thing. I mean, this is a Pmdg, right? So one of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the weather, or at least control, check the weather and see. We have fair weather, right? So let's see what that means. We have some clouds. We have precipitation, none. That's fine. And then let's check the wind. So the wind has speed with gusts 0 to 0. So there's absolutely no wind. And I will leave it like this. Yeah. The temperatures are 15 degrees. and the sea level. Now that I'm going to change a little bit, because I always find it strange when when we have 1013 millibar, so I'm going to switch this to 1017 millibar. Okay, then I'm going to switch the display into millibar, use the B key, 1018, so it's using now this new setting, but it's quiet weather, no problems here. A little bit of clouds, that's okay. So that's it. Now let's continue with the setup. So performance in it. So fuel, we have 18.3 tons on board. Now I think the 4 engines on the 747-400, also the freighter, I think they use about 6 tons an hour. Okay, so our flight time is less than an hour. So we should be fine, but maybe what I should do first is I go into FS Actions, Fuel, and you see we have 18 tons. Now 18 tons are most likely too much, but I think 18 tons is fine. I leave it like this. Yeah, I could do short range, but I think that's more than 18. And I do what I do actually for the word flight. I'm going to empty, use the empty setting, so we're not going to take any cargo with us. So this is an empty aircraft, and I will try and do this for all the other aircraft as well. We're doing kind of an empty aircraft and see how that behaves, because this is probably something that is strange to the aircraft, because normally there are some weights, some cargo or some passengers, and I would like to see what happens when you empty the aircraft completely and fly basically just the pilots and nothing else. No luggage, no payload, and just the fuel you need to get to your destination. So let's go back. So the gross weight is 183.4. That is actually quite low for a 747. But obviously now that we have emptied it, the reserves I'm going to put in 5 tons. The cost index I'm going to use 155, a larger one. We are going to fly, oops, I'm pretty sure Avia is doing some strange things today. So this it didn't do before. It's because we're doing videos, that's why. Why wouldn't it not? Very good opportunity to confuse me. So, we're in Munich, so our takeoff is on a pretty long runway. We're going to use flaps 20, and I think we can go with a takeoff configuration 2 minus 15%. So that gives us a 99.7 on the N1. The takeoff is going to happen with flaps 20 and thrust reduction at flaps 5. So that means we have 115, 115, 136. That's quite low for a 747. But the thing is, we are completely empty. And this is actually the setting that I use or will use for word flight, because word flight doesn't always fly to large airports with large runways. There are the odd 6,000 or 7,000 feet runways. And in order to not overshoot those, I will keep the Boeing empty like we do now. And that will allow us to actually land on practically every airport also during the word flight. Okay, and that's it. That's how you set up the whole thing. Now let's have a quick look. Is there anything? No. So that looks fine. And so what we're going to do now is, let's do a very quick setup here. I'm going to put this into auxiliary. I'm going to turn on the fuel pumps, and I'm going to go through the pre-flight checklist with FS2CREW.
Pre-flight checklist.
Captain, set the parking brake first, please.
Okay, fair enough. So for some reason I can't move. Why can I not move my... Yeah, now. So parking brake is set. And...
Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Yeah, that I would actually have to check here. I can if I want. Tested 100%.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Flight instruments.
Heading 259. Altimeter 1018.
Heading 259er. Altimeter 1018. Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
136, by the way, is our V2. So I'm going to put this into the speed window here. We are going to take off from 08 left, which is 080, at least in this scenery. Okay, and we're immediately going to set our flight level 200 because we don't have ATC or any of that. So I'm directly switching. Yep. Okie dokie. Let's turn on those flight directors. Yep. Right. Oh, yeah. I think we also need to set the transition altitude. Where did cruise altitude, thrust limit, takeoff? Where was the... so this is the climb, yeah. So here, you can actually set the default in the Pmdg. Yeah, see, I keep getting an 8, although I'm pressing 0. Unless I move my mouse. Maybe I'm a bit nervous with the mouse today, I don't know. And we go to forecast, and we can put in the flight level 50. So we're not going to take any kind of custom. We're using transition level and transition altitude the same. This is sort of a simplification here, right? Let's go back to progress. Now that looks good. This is not the progress page. Now we are on progress. There's something really weird going on today with aviaserver. I'm a bit confused why that is. Okay. Right. So we'll arrive with 13.8 tons. Yeah, and you can see the top of climb is just 19 miles. You will see with an empty 747 like this, we're going to shoot into the sky quite quickly. Now, what I could normally do here with this here is I could actually run the departure brief. I'm not going to bore you with this. I just show you the settings. So we are on a stand with pushback, to flaps 20, taxi route assigned by ATC, packs are on, anti-ice is not required. Forced return, we are underweight, definitely. Departure procedures and SID, concerns none. And I could play it now, but I'm not going to do that. And we're going to get now ultimate ground crew X. I have that in the background. And I'm going to have these guys to connect with their little tiny little thingy here, their card. And you can see, so this is, instead of GSX, I'm not using GSX because GSX is not stable enough. As soon as I had activated it here, because for some scenery it was required, it crashed my simulator. So it's currently turned off. I have
ground flight deck.
Go ahead.
Please confirm that the brakes are set.
So communications are okay and the brakes are set.
Thanks.
Okay. So now we're going to do the before start procedure.
Before start procedure.
Are we clear to pressurize?
That I can ask. Ground checks and hydraulics.
Outside check is completed. All doors and panels are closed. No issues found. You can pressurize the hydraulics anytime now.
We are cleared to pressurize.
Thanks.
So these are now the virtual co-pilots doing their job. So they're preparing the aircraft now to get pushed back and started. We're going to push the aircraft facing north so that we get to 08 left. So these guys are ready. We're also going to do the before start checklist here, and then we're
I am ready for the checklist.
before start checklist.
Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Supernumerary signs. Auto. MCP.
Is set.
V2 is 136. Heading track 080. Altitude 20,000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 is 115. VR 115. V2 is 136.
CDO preflight.
Is completed.
Completed.
Completed. Trim.
6.0 units set. 0 and
Has to
0.
be in
Taxi
the green.
and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Beacon. Both. Before start checklist complete.
Yeah, so they have set the beacon. The parking brake is still off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the parking brake again, and now we're going to, what we need to do now is we need to go into the menu here, FS actions, connections, and we have to remove the wheel chocks. The APU should be active. Yeah, you can see we have power from the APU. It's running. So I'm going to remove the chocks, and that sets us free to start. I've done this here in the menu, in the FS action menu. So that sets us free, because otherwise we're going to have a problem. Okay, I'm now going to tell these guys to, we're ready for pushback, and engine start facing north.
Understood. Facing north. Release the brakes, please.
The parking brake is released.
Pushing back.
Nick, nick.
Start sequence is 4 and 3, then 2 and 1.
Check.
Right. So, waiting for instructions so that we can start the engines.
All ground equipment is clear. You can start the engines at your discretion.
Start engines 4 and 3.
So 4 and 3, and in order for that to work, you need to turn on these knobs, because only then will the lights come on here and you can start 2 engines at a time. The lights are out.
Start engines 2 and 1.
Don't forget to turn these ones on, or you will wait forever. The white lights come on. We're fine.
The push is complete. Please set the brakes.
Parking brake is set.
Understood. Okay, the turbo is disconnected and the pin is out and equipment is clear.
Thanks, you can disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks and have a good flight.
Did you salute here? Not that we can see this down there, you know. Okay, right then. We have 4 good starts. Yep, let's get to the
Before taxi procedure.
Okay.
So now these guys are setting up the rest of the switches, turn on the packs and all that. The APU is going to be turned off. Right, flaps 20.
Flaps 20, please.
Flaps 20.
And we look in the
before taxi checklist, please.
So the flight controls.
Before taxi checklist, anti-ice, auto, recall, checked. Auto brake, RTO, flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
The ground equipment is
clear.
Clear. Before taxi checklist complete.
All right. So.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Okay, great. So, let's disconnect. The taxi light has been put on by my colleagues. And I start. Parking brake is released and I give a bit of power. And we start taxiing.
Flaps 20 and green.
Check. You can see that fidelity and also the automation that you have here in this aircraft, and also with Pmdg, all these tools around it, and FS2CREW offering the kind of virtual co-pilot. That's fantastic. And there is one aspect, one of the reasons why I want to use this for world flight is if my PC or my simulator crashes, and I had this once in the last weeks. FSU IPC that I have also here will save every 5 minutes. You will see a small little delay from time to time. That is actually the FSU IPC storing the situation. And the thing with the Pmdgs is they will save the complete status of the aircraft completely. And that means including the position and speed and all that. That means you can set up the aircraft again and you will be a couple of minutes from where you had crashed during the flight. And yeah, that allows you to actually recover from a crash and continue, especially on longer flights. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm using Prepared, which is it is a pretty stable simulator. So Prepared version 5 is so much more improved when it comes to stability than those initial versions, and FSX was a catastrophe. I don't even want to think about it. The kind of bother I had with FSX, I don't want to go back there anymore. So let's, oops, yeah, let's, all right. Yeah, it's really good, and this feature of being able to recover from a crash and then continue your flight slightly offset, obviously, and I would go into a vPilot as an observer first, talk to the ATC guys, and just make sure that they're aware that I will be popping up again, and get their permission sort of, and then usually that's no problem, and then they will pick you up and continue. You can continue with your flight without having lost everything. With any other aircraft, that's not possible, or with most of the aircraft, it's not possible. In X-plane, I think only the tallest planes have a feature like this, if I remember correctly. And I'm not sure if it is as comprehensive as the one here for the Pmdgs. Okay, so let's stop here for the moment.
Before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 20.
Flaps 20.
Flaps 20. Before takeoff checklist complete.
So we are basically ready. Let's assume our ATC has given us permission to enter the runway. So we're going to do a lineup and then take off runway 08 left. Releasing the parking brake again. With such a large aircraft, you need these kind of special views because it is very difficult to steer such a big airplane just with this 2D window kind of. Just simulator is, when it comes to kind of visual clues and things like that, is actually not as good as reality. So in reality, you have much more that you can use to realize where your aircraft is and how far it has to turn and all that. So I prefer to use this view. That helps me pretty well to get it aligned properly. Yeah. Yeah, and even with this view, I'm kind of overshot a little bit. It's very difficult to judge it, but well, we are in a simulator. It's not as important.
Runway entry procedure.
Oh,
Okay.
I forgot to do that one. So it will turn on now all the lights and transponders and all that kind of stuff. And then we are ready.
I'm ready to go.
For the takeoff, I'm ready to go myself. So
Takeoff.
takeoff, I'm going to give some power, and then I press the toga button, and that brings the throttles all the way
80 knots. Thrust
to
set.
Check.
whatever we have set as a takeoff
V1.
power.
Rotate.
Rotate, and you can see because we are so light, we reach V1
Positive
very
rate.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Flaps 10, please.
Speed checked. Flaps 10. Flaps 10 and green.
Yeah,
Flaps 5, please.
Speed
have
checked.
already
Flaps 5.
it accelerates so quickly that's,
Transition.
let's say, is a bit abnormal
Flaps 5.
for
Green.
a big 747, and you see we have already reached 5,000.
Set standard.
Standard is set.
Flaps 1, please.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Okay, so I'm trying to follow the flight director. It wants us to. That's quite steep, isn't it? Anyway, autopilot on.
Left autopilot command, please.
Left autopilot command.
Alright. Oh, the flaps are still not up yet, but they're in transition. Oh,
Flaps
hey,
up, please.
I haven't commanded it
Flaps
yet.
1 green. Flaps up.
Alright.
After takeoff checklist, please.
Landing gear up and off. Flaps up. After takeoff checklist complete. Flight level 100. Flaps up.
So we haven't got LNAV and VNAV. I forgot actually to set this. Okay, that was not good. Forgot about it. Not everything is automated, you know. You still have to watch out for things like that. I completely forgot to press LNAV and VNAV. I'm so used to getting this done by some aircraft already at the beginning, and FS2CREW in some cases sets it. In this case it doesn't, and I keep forgetting with the 747. And you can see we are already at 13,000 feet, so this thing is just like a rocket. It's amazing. But yeah, our speed is only slowly increasing. So we're going to reach the top of climb in 5 nautical miles. It's amazing. So this aircraft is really amazing when it comes to climb performance and all that. Right, let's synchronize the heading here. So it's flying towards Mike. Obviously it has quite a turn radius, so some of these departure procedures you will have difficulties, because in some of them there are really tight turns and you might not be able to do it, especially if it's light and fast like this. So we have almost reached flight level 200.
1 to go.
1 to go. And we haven't even left Mike yet. That is amazing. So it's going to intercept the magenta line. Yeah, and you can see now that's the kind of route we have flown, and it took us quite a bit longer because first I forgot the LNAV VNAV, and then it took its time to get around here. Yeah, so you can see quite the dotted line. It shows we have used a bit more space than other aircraft would do, because of my mistake and also of the fact that it is really so we've reached flight level 200 before Mike. That's quite amazing. But you can see this is how this aircraft behaves when it's empty. So, top of descent is in 83 nautical miles. Normally in time for the top of descent we would do the approach briefing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the approach briefing without talking, so I just go here. Route procedure is a star. The approach type is RNAV approach, landing flaps 30. Yep, we can already enter the... So 1:1 is our reference speed, and now we go to the RNP. So that's the RNAV RNP. So our final approach fixed altitude is 4,000. The minimums is Barrow 1,980. So the decision altitude 1,980 feet. Barometric. Missed approach altitude, in case of missed approach, climb 072 to 5,000. Runway condition is dry, auto brake 3. Strix no, shutdown engine taxi, gate stand. It's going to be a... Yeah, I think it's a gate, yeah. We have it. We have them turn on the APU before we get to the gate. Final sector skip secure. Yes. No. Okay. Cool. So that's the briefing. I'm not going to run it. So yeah, the Pmdg. From the fidelity and the quality, this is pretty much the best you can get in simulation. Sooner or later they're going to publish these ones for FS 2020, and that is going to be the only type of aircraft that I would buy for FS 2020 and spend more money. To be honest, the Aerosoft CRJ I'm not interested in. I never liked the CRJ. I also don't really like the Aerosoft CRJ. I have it here for prepared. I bought it a couple of years ago when it came out. It didn't really knock me off my socks, but yeah, well, so I'm not going to spend money on it. But when the Pmdg come out with something like the NGX or even the 747 or the 777, then most likely I'm going to invest in an airliner. Yeah, it's very likely that I will. So by the way, we're going to use the Babek arrival. Let's put this in so you can see we come to our last waypoint, which is GU something with G, and then we fly directly north-BU and then down here for the RNAV approach here to runway 07. But we're not there yet. We have just reached the end point of our departure, Rida. We're already on flight level 200 and yeah. So one of the tests that I'm going to do is, if you see here on the navigation display, it calculates a top of descent at Gupin, and I'm going to obviously use this to see how accurate the top of descent calculation is. My experience with the 747, that's one of the few things that doesn't always work out. One reason why it might not work out is if you use the fast mode. So Pmdgs, the 777 and the 747, they can have an automatic speed up of the simulation rate. They kind of check whether your simulator gets a tough briefing or something, and then it reduces the fastening of the simulation rate. But yeah, if you do that, then your top of descent most likely will not work out. So I had a couple of flights where I did this, and then I ended up being too high, too fast, because it just didn't calculate it properly. If you do no simulation rate increase, it usually works out okay. But I'm not sure what they calculate as a descent rate. So it can get quite tough at times. But being a try and fly, I'm going to use whatever standard rate it will calculate as a vertical path. So we're using the VNAV, LNAV down to the end. And we need to see when we have to actually reduce the speed. So let's have a look at the legs here. Nosbu, yeah, we still are quite fast. Then 259 at DS440, 240 at 421, 210 and 4,500 or above. FATA at 170, yeah, and then whatever the reference speed is. So we need to slow down in time, and slowing down this aircraft, especially when it's so light, can be a tough business. So I have my experience with that, yeah, doing my flights training for World Flight 2021. Can be quite a tough business, so I use the speed brake quite a bit to get it down, especially when you have ATC and they are a little bit late with getting you down. Then it can become tough. That's the disadvantage of having such a light version of the 747 with nothing in it. So we're past Dodil, we're getting to Rixet now. Dodil can be an anagram for something else. All right. Okay, so we're turning towards Abtal. Stuttgart isn't that far away now. And I just realized I haven't actually got the arrival yet in littlenavmap. Let's put that in. Oh well. It doesn't allow me to do that now. I'm not sure why. Anyway, we are getting close to the top of descent. It's not that far. And I'm going to put in the 4,000 feet. And I wonder, or let the automatic systems bring us down for a correct approach. Heeding all the constraints that may or may not be there. Making sure that we are at 4,000 when we are reaching Vater, which is German for father, by the way. And there's a father and an unser, so it's our and father. Unser is on the other side, on runway 25. (16 nautical miles to the top of descent). I've already set the altitude to 4,000. And I'm waiting now for the vertical navigation to kick in and bring us down automatically. See if that works out like this. I had cases where this did not start on its own. I had to actually intervene. So I'm actually watching this carefully to make sure that I'm not too long along, because if I wait too long, we do actually get a problem. So if it doesn't do what I expect it to do, then I press on this button, which is kind of expediting the descent. Descent now then, basically. And I'm doing this for the first time, by the way, with the 747. This is I haven't tried this before, so you're actually getting the genuine first time I do this. So I wonder what will happen. Since we have already reduced the altitude, there's no warning coming up here in the box, and I'm now expecting to see the vertical path any moment, and hopefully the aircraft starting to descend in about 4 nautical miles. Three nautical miles. One nautical mile and top of descent now. Yep, the vertical path indicator is showing. We are starting to descend. And I think before DS440 or so, we should probably start with the deceleration. Descent procedure.
Descent procedure, please.
Stand by.
So pressure is 1018 again. Good thing is you can already pre-dial this here. So far it's looking pretty okay, so I'm happy enough with what I see. Shortly before DS440, you see this little green circle. I think we're going to have a deceleration there. We might have to use the speed brakes for that. We'll see. descent checklist.
Descent checklist, please.
Descent checklist. Recall checked. Auto brake.
Auto brake level 3.
Landing data.
VREF 121. Minimums 1980 feet.
VREF 121. Minimums 1980 feet. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Check that again, please. Descent checklist complete.
Yeah, we have completed. We didn't play it. That's why he's complaining. So here comes the speed, and you can now see that our descent rate gets reduced because it wants to slow down. I have given a bit of speed brake out so that we are not too much. We're not leveling off, because that can actually get you into trouble. You see, we are already too high now for the descent path. That's what happens. Yeah, I have a bit of experience now with it because I've done several flights and I observed this a couple of times. And I think the next deceleration point is after DS544. So we need to really get going here with the descent. I keep the speed brake out a little bit to help with the descent. So far it looks okay, but now comes the next deceleration, I think. Come on. Come on.
Flight level 100.
Flight level 100. So we need to get going again. Yeah, this is a bit strange. It has difficulties stabilizing. Drag required. Yes, I know. I'm dragging. Speed brake is extended. I knew that it would be tough because yeah, somehow I'm a bit surprised because I can't remember, but maybe it's because the aircraft is light, you know. I always wonder if this behavior is because the aircraft is lighter than it would normally be, and therefore, yeah, could be, you know. So we should be okay at this point. As you can see, we are back on the thing is, if I leave the speed brake now, I'm doing this very slowly, taking it back quite slowly, so that we don't have a huge change, and because then it starts bobbing up and down again. So that's fine. Looking good again. You can see the green banana. So here we need to be at 4,000 at FATA. Then we should be okay. All right. So this looks like we're going to make it. Yeah, that's fine. If it doesn't mess up again, we are a little bit under our speed. See, and I wonder. Whoop! There's something wrong with the auto throttle. I realized a couple of times now. Because it shouldn't really do this. When the auto throttle is activated, it shouldn't really be influenced by my joystick lever. So I've brought them back to 0 now. So
Set altimeters.
1018
already.
set cross-checked,
Otherwise I
passing
forget.
6,600, descending 4,000.
Right, so DS421. And yeah, we are going to make it with the altitude. That's fine. Don't forget he will undercut a bit because of the speed and the size of it.
Approach checklist, please.
Altimeters
1018.
1018. Approach checklist complete.
Flaps 1, please.
Speed checked.
And the other thing I realized is
Flaps
it
1.
Doesn't appear to change the speed with the flaps. It's something that I'm used to with the NGX, but
Flaps 1 green.
it appears that it isn't doing it. So what
One
I
to go.
do is I actually do a speed intervention and I bring down the speed. That's like when ATC tells us that we should be slower, like go to minimum approach speed or minimum up, you know. So I'm going to bring the speed down now, and you can see what happens. It will start leveling off again, and we don't really want that. I want to make sure that it so now I'm wondering, I can't see the ILS yet, which is not good. We should be seeing the ILS around FATA. I hope it's still coming. What I wonder though is maybe we have the wrong frequency because the scenery might be too old. Let's see. Let's go to the map. If that's true, if I'm right, then I have to see how I can change this. Stuttgart Airport. So let's see. So the frequency is, the ILS frequency is 109.5 and 72. Let's check this. Oh, I need to go 109.5. Okay. 109. I thought so. There's something wrong here. Oh, I'm stupid. You know what? We are doing an RNAV approach. Hello, wakey wakey, Costa. Everything is okay. You don't have to worry. So.
Flaps 5, please.
Speed checked. Flaps 5.
So, and we need to go to the minimum now, and the minimum is something like 1980. So I'm going to put it on 2000.
Flaps 5 green. Radio altimeter alive.
Mm-hmm.
Final approach fix.
We're 8
Height
miles.
checked.
And it's starting to go down again.
$2,500.
Flaps 10, please.
Speed checked. Flaps 10. Flaps 10 and green.
Seven miles.
Gear down, flaps 20.
Gear down. Speed checked. Flaps 20. Gear down. Flaps 20 and green.
So we can see the runway. So far, things work out.
Flaps 25, please.
Speed checked. Flaps 25. Flaps 25, green.
Flaps 30.
Speed checked. Flaps 30. Flaps 30 and green.
So I actually forgot to set the minima. I keep doing this. So we need to... Ugh. Oh, what the heck? we said 1980. I can't read it here. I should have set this earlier. 1430. Yeah, this is only on the other display, and as I said, it's very hard to read. Okay.
Landing checklist, please.
Speed brake. 1000 feet.
Not armed.
Landing gear.
It's armed. It's armed now. Oh, no, it's not armed.
Down.
Flaps.
I need to find the right position for it to arm.
Flaps 30.
Landing checklist complete.
And we have reached 2000. I'm off the
Approaching
autopilot.
minimums.
Oh. I disarmed the auto brake again. And we need to...
50 above. Decide.
Clear to land.
Check.
Land.
Check.
And I need to turn off the auto throttle. So. And the rest is visual. And it is a big bird, very big bird, and it takes time to get it when it's leaving, then it takes time to get it back. So we landed and
Speed brakes up.
down with it. So
Reverse green.
brake up. And it's very difficult to steer it with the rudders on the ground. Whoops. Yeah, so the landing
60
wasn't the
knots.
best, but we got there. And manual
Auto
braking.
brakes.
The other thing is I have my yoke in a... I don't have much space here on my table, so at the moment I have it in a probably not so good position. So I actually keep hitting my leg. So I had some trouble now getting the thing turned more because I'm kind of hitting my leg, and then I don't get enough input for some of these maneuvers. But that's not something I would have during world flight or so, because I would normally put it somewhere else. But yeah. So we landed, and actually the approach went quite
Okay
well.
to clean up.
Shall I turn on the APU?
When the pilot doesn't sleep or turn his brain off,
Yes, please.
Okay.
Then everything is fine after landing procedure. So we are going to taxi to the gate. I can't remember now. Would I go on? I think I would go on. Would I go here or to the next? Is it N or is it N or S? Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure. Let's call up the airport chart and see where we are. I take November. Yeah, the north. Normally when aircraft fly from the west, they wouldn't be on this here, because they would also take off from the
APU is
from the
online.
west end towards the east, and that should normally be okay then. So let's give it a bit of a push here. Not sure how many 747s would land in Stuttgart. I could imagine though that since there is a cargo area also, I think the cargo area is on this side, we should probably have gone off to the right instead of the left. Well, we could still cross. Let me see. Yeah, we could actually go to Kilo and then cross the runway and roll onto the cargo space. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, the 747. I have a feeling that the lightweight might actually influence some of the things that normally work out a little bit better, but yeah, and the RNAV, that was me, stupido mio. I'm wanted to dial in the ILS, yeah, for an RNP approach. And I forgot to set the minimum. The problem is I have actually the first officer's display out there, and the minimas I have to do on this. I don't want to bring this out because then the Pmdg could crash. And since that happened to me when I had this out, that eventually would crash with a memory leak or something, and they seem to have not been able to fix this in all these times. I leave this in here, but that means it's extremely difficult to read this, yeah. So 1960. I should have done this during the flight. I've actually forgot to do that. That was a quick interruption. That's when it saves the whole flight state. So let's turn off also weather and traffic, so everything is cleaned up. This is the German airports, Aerosoft, Stuttgart scenery. It's also quite old. Oh, and we are getting thunder and lightning out there in the real world. Taxiing is quite okay, but you should get yourself something for the steering tiller because the rudders are not as effective. It's difficult to steer with the rudders, at least that's my experience. Ooh, got really dark now. Let's move over now. We are almost at Kilo taxiway. I'm going to take it here now, cross the runway. There is no traffic, so we're fine. Yeah, let's taxi onto Kilo, cross runway 07, and then stop just over there, somewhere with a nice parking spot. Okay, go to turn towards the right and then just place myself there. It's not like we are in the real world anyway, so we just take this one here. There's a nice spot. So, and okay, that's it. Parking brake.
Lights, please.
Check.
And we're doing the
Shutdown procedure, please.
Roger.
shutdown procedure before engine cut. So I have to wait for a moment until they do whatever they need to do. And then comes
Clear to cut.
clear to cut. You cut by turning off these 4 switches. And then comes the shutdown procedure after engine cut, and they're now turning off everything here and making the aircraft ready to be left. Right, so that's the Queen of the Skies. It is a very nice aircraft. Prepared is a good simulator. Yeah, there are some things that I need to get used to, and some things are different than you're used to. By the way, if you want to use a flight plan that you have saved, it's important that you go through this setup. So you basically have to go to the D-Link menu, go to the ACARS, and do all this pre-flight, enter the pre-flight information. It doesn't have to be accurate, but you need to enter something in these fields, and only then will it allow you to go and call up a flight plan that you've saved. Chocks are in. Okay, and we could do the shutdown checklist now, but I'm going to save you this. Now what I can show you is what happens if I go and call up the scenario that was saved. So let's do a load. The scenario is called PAC99, and you can see it was saved just now, hopefully before we cut the engines. Maybe I should have done this a bit earlier, but let's see. So what it does now, it's loading the complete state of the aircraft, position, everything, and it will also bring the aircraft into the exact same state with everything, engines, flight plan, everything is exactly as it was the moment that it took this. Now, if we are unlucky, it just took it before we did it, so it would look pretty much the same. But I think you get the idea of why I think this is really a great feature, and I'm really glad. So here you go. Yeah, you see, the engines were already cut. So that was just by accident. I waited 1 second too long, it seems. And yeah, and it's initializing everything. And you are in exactly the same state as you were when it actually took this situation. It's not only the simulator, that's the good thing. PMDG and simulator work together. Right, so that's it. That's try and fly with a new route and a new way of doing things and RNAV approach and all that. I still have to get used to it myself a little bit. So this has been the first flight. But yeah, I'm going to do other ones and also testing all the airplanes that I want to use in the simulators. We'll update them to the latest stage and then go through them. This is not going to be a comprehensive tutorial or anything, you know. It's just you see me doing the flight with what is there, and yeah, you see me also making mistakes probably. And you see the aircraft's probably making mistakes. The one or the other will probably do some boo-boos. But that's what I want to find out with Try and Fly, see how far they are. I'm interested to see how far the fly-by-wire and the C4J, the citation, are in FS 2020. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Okay, then thanks very much for watching. Until next time.